Yep, and the Prime Minister is under pressure after admitting that he was aware of emails between Lord Mandelson and the convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Keir Starmer has blamed his team for not properly briefing him on the contents of emails, and he insists he will not quit over what is going on.
I knew of his association with Epstein, but had I known then what I know now, I'd have never appointed him. Because what emerged last week were emails, Bloomberg emails, which showed that the nature and extent of the relationship that Peter Mandelson had with Epstein was far different to what I had understood to be the position when I appointed him.
Well, the scandal has thrown the Prime Minister's authority into question, and he regrets defending Lord Mandelson before knowing all of the facts.
And with the Speaker granting an emergency debate that's going to happen today on the vetting of Peter Mandelson, we're asking, can the Prime Minister recover from this?
Well, let's speak now to GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster, who's in the studio with us, and still big questions for the Prime Minister, Catherine.
Huge questions for the Prime Minister. It's just 2 weeks since he said this was phase 2 of the government. We've lost Angela Rayner, had to resign. Huge reshuffle. Peter Mandelson, the US ambassador, and yesterday Paul Ovenden, director of political strategy. So for a government that promised sort of calm competence, it's really not going very well. And today there's going to be a 3-hour debate in Parliament about what happened with Lord Mandelson, and the Prime Minister's defence, fundamentally, and why he defended him in PMQs last week, is pretty much saying that all the information hadn't been put in front of him at that point, and also he would never have appointed him had he known everything that he knows now. But I think there are real questions about his political judgment, because we keep seeing these unforced errors, if you like. He did have a choice in appointing Lord Mandelson in the first place. Number 10 last week said to us that basically they decided that the risk was worth it because Peter Mandelson had great skills in schmoozing and let's face it, was very successful, has been very successful in getting this deal with Donald Trump and keeping on the right side of the US president. But it reminds me too, going back a year, I was in September, I was in Rome last September with the Prime Minister. It was after all the scandal about freebies and dresses and glasses had broke. And I did the interview on behalf of the broadcasters. And he was very much, absolutely all within the rules. He didn't seem to just understand that something can be within the rules, but it doesn't mean that it looks OK. Now, of course, they were entitled to appoint whoever they liked to that job, but they knew that he was a convicted paedophile, and they knew that, they knew that Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted paedophile, and they knew that Peter Mandelson had stayed friends with him for long after he had been put in jail. So I think there's huge questions, and I certainly wouldn't put any money on the Prime Minister leading Labour into the next election.
OK. Catherine, thank you very much indeed.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
The stage is set and almost ready to go in Windsor for Donald Trump. He's going to touch down tonight in the UK. This will be his second state visit.
Well, the American president will stay in Windsor Castle, where he'll be hosted by the King and will be treated to a lavish state banquet.
No public-facing engagements during the visit. Thousands of people expected to protest against President Trump during his 2-day visit. It all comes as police say officers will be ready to respond to a potential very high threat level, with plans to secure Windsor from the skies, streets and indeed the River Thames.
Well, we're now joined by security expert Will Geddes. And just give us a sense, Will, of just how big this operation is. Hearing it's the biggest operation since the King's coronation in terms of security.
You're absolutely right. Good morning, Eamon. Good morning, Ellie. This is, over the next couple of days, going to be a monumental security operation that is going to involve, as you mentioned, Eamon, many, many different facets. And especially at a time where we're extremely volatile protests, and certainly in terms of the position of the United Kingdom on the world stage, the world will be watching over the next 2 days as to how well we secure President Donald Trump when he comes to visit.
And I imagine this is something that is being reviewed all the time, especially in light of the Charlie Kirk assassination last week.
Yes, indeed. Certainly in the wake of that, Ellie. I mean, there is not only that, but there is the whole issue. I mean, it's going to be a very spiky meetings with certainly Keir Starmer. As you mentioned, Windsor Castle has been very much fortified. Local residents are almost calling it a fortress now in terms of the security that's already been put in place. But the president is also then going to go to Chequers. I think, like his last visit in 2018, he isn't going to come to London. He knows that Sadiq Khan isn't one of his biggest fans. And it's also one of the areas where the vast majority of protests would be focused. However, having said that, there are a lot of protests that have already started amassing around Windsor Castle. In terms of security, not only is there the police, Thames Valley Police, with the obviously support of the Metropolitan Police, but there's 1,200 troops that are going to be there, 1,300 troops, 120 odd horses. Part of the ceremonial process His Majesty is going to be laying on for Donald Trump. But there's going to be certainly a number of very, very, very delicate issues that need to be discussed. One of which will be, that the Americas are very opposed to, is the UK and particularly Keir Starmer trying to recognise a two-state solution for Palestine.
And, well, in terms of this state visit, it is all being done within Windsor Castle grounds, isn't it? Very different to the state visit that we saw with Macron. Is that being done intentionally for security reasons, would you imagine?
Yep, very much so. I mean, I would imagine that the movements by Donald Trump, and that's certainly from my professional experience, the hardest thing to manage is what we call the journey management. It's the moving from one location to another. And I will speculate that President Trump won't be moving by vehicle. He'll be moving by helicopter, probably from Windsor Castle over to Chequers and then obviously on to his ultimate destinations elsewhere out of the country. But yes, certainly in terms of the movements, that has to be carefully managed. And the security risk assessment is going to be dynamic, as we would call it, which means it's constantly adapting, constantly changing, constantly reviewing any intelligence that'll be coming in, not only from Donald Trump's own security and intelligence instruments, but also from here, MI5 and the other agencies like GCHQ.
Well, thanks for the update. Appreciate it. And we'll speak to you, no doubt, throughout the day. Appreciate that.
Everything from Trump is glowing about this state visit. It has all a bit been overshadowed by the assassination of Charlie Kirk this week. So we haven't actually had much news or discussion of it. And that'll kick off, I'm sure, today when he actually arrives. I think he's arriving with you Tuesday evening, is my understanding. Yes, it's going to look. All of it's going to have an impact on him. I think what's one of the most interesting things is that this is his second state visit. This is unprecedented. They say it's rare, but I can't find another president that's actually had 2 state visits. So this is second. The former was in 2019, obviously, with the late Queen. It's just really, it's really interesting, and they are really rolling out the red carpet is an understatement. I think we've got flybys, the Red Arrows. I think we've got 3 military bands on Wednesday. We've got the state banquet, as you said, which Ed Davey is boycotting. Did you see this? Ed Davey's boycotting as a party leader. He's invited to the state banquet and he's boycotting it because of Trump's Gaza policies. So the other party leaders will be there, people like Kemi Badenoch. But yeah, Ed Davies decided to
the leader,
that one.
Northern Ireland's First Minister's boycotted it as well, Michelle O'Neill.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Extraordinary. The one time.
Why is it extraordinary?
Well, it's extraordinary that these are party leaders who are avoiding the opportunity to meet the most powerful leader on earth and perhaps make a case for the people they represent, and they're actually just taking their ball away and sulking. I think it's shameful that people have, no matter what one thinks of any of these world leaders, they are there. This guy is 26% of the world economy, and you've got leaders, political leaders, who claim to represent their constituents, who are actually just, like I said, avoiding it. I think it really is awful. I think that's now Starmer's going. He's meeting Starmer at Chequers on Thursday, and obviously at the state banquet. But that's if Starmer's still in office. This is the most remarkable thing over this side of the pond, is that there's a chance that it's all started with obviously Epstein, and that's such an American story. But then it turns into Mandelson, and now there's rumours going, Starmer might not be in office by the time he actually is supposed to meet him at Chequers on Thursday. So anyway, he will be meeting the British Prime Minister on Thursday, whoever that may be.
And what do you think this means for our special relationship, Paul? Because it could be a really awkward one this week, especially when the Prime Minister is fielding questions from the press about Jeffrey Epstein. And we know, of course, that President Trump had that historic friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. So despite all the pomp and pageantry, there's quite a diplomatic tightrope as well for the Prime Minister to kind of juggle here.
I think it's more of a problem for Starmer, actually, the way that the story's breaking. The special relationship, I think this is now going to be redoubled. What's interesting is that the business behind all this seems to be timed with trying to get some, I think there's an AI tech joint agreement, so that the US and the UK will now be more aligned and outside EU tech AI rules in the future. So we're actually putting some actual bonds together, as opposed to just this flowery special relationship. There's actually going to be some meat and potatoes in there to move alignment away from the EU and towards a US-UK alignment. So I think that'll be helped. I don't think this Epstein thing is going to make any difference to Trump. Trump has fielded it in the Oval Office so many times now that he just shrugs it away. It's an issue for Mandelson, and especially if you've got your wonderful Bev Turner there, that she will be pressing Starmer about his relationship with Mandelson. I don't think there's much of an appetite to keep pressing Trump on it. And like I said, if there is, then he's well practiced at just shrugging that particular subject off at the moment.